Tyler, thanks again for meeting with us. So excited to be able to sit down and talk with you a little
pleasure.
bit. My first question is just walk us through, tell us a little bit about your journey into coffee, into hospitality also. Kind of your thoughts around your journey, if you could reflect and just walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, it started kind of through the lens of the product, right? So like at first I got excited about coffee. And that was around when I was in college, and there was a coffee shop close to my university, and you could buy this golden mug for like $75, and you could fill it up for a year. And so like I bought that, and I got by, and I was like, holy moly, coffee is really cool, and different coffees taste differently, and that really illuminated me. And I just was like, this is like really, really amazing. And so then I applied to work at that coffee shop 5 times. And they never hired me. They just didn't. And I just like kept going. I was like, yo, I want to learn this. And eventually, long story short, one of the guys that worked there knew of my big interest in coffee, that kind of thing, And he was asked to help open a place called the Principal's Office, which is a coffee shop and a cocktail bar.
Yep.
So he called me up and he said, yo, do you want to open that with me?
Yes.
And so I said, yep, absolutely. So I go, hustle there, and I just start learning. I learned so much there, and I worked there for like 5 years, and that was really where I started, like in the industry, like kind of as far as making drinks and serving people. Mm-hmm. But the reality is my entire life, I think, I was being infused with the DNA of hospitality. My mom was sick for my whole life, and I grew up watching my dad take care of my mom. And that was kind of just how I grew up. I didn't really know any different. Yeah. But in hindsight, like my entire life was filled with watching my dad put like his life aside in order to make sure my mom was okay. Yeah. So I think that whole time, this DNA of hospitality and service was being infused into me, right?
This is what a man looks like.
This is what it's like to take care of someone and love them and put your life aside. And so I was just being indoctrinated with that spirit of hospitality my whole life. Yes. So then here I come, and later on in life, I'm in college, graduating college, and I'm bartending, making drinks, and I'm really enjoying creating experiences for people. I'm learning how happy a great cocktail or great coffee can make someone, and then I started kind of growing into some leadership positions and become a bar manager and things like that. And what I began to see was I was like, well, it's hard to like replicate this. Like, why doesn't this other person do it the way I do it? Or I try to teach them, and it's really hard. They don't quite grasp the concept. It was something that came very naturally to me. Mm-hmm. And I started to have some frustrations with like, how do I manifest this spirit of hospitality I'm so passionate about? Yeah. Like in the workplace, and as a leader. And I really had no idea, and I kind of was left wanting a lot. Then about 5 or 6 years ago now, my mom had a heart transplant. And so it was at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles, California. And so overnight we all flew down there, and we were there for it. And then they were like, yo, she has to be quarantined for like a week. So you can't see her, can't talk to her, nothing. So like, okay, what do you do? So we all went to Disneyland. You're like, okay, like we like, what else do you do to pass time, right? So we're in Southern California. We go to Disneyland. And bro, I can remember like it was yesterday. Went on the Peter Pan ride, stepped off the Peter Pan ride. And I remember just like looking around, and I was like, I think everything's going to be okay. Like, I just feel like everything is going to be okay. And I remember thinking this exact thing. I remember thinking like, it's so cool that the people who work here are treating us so special today. Like knowing everything that's going on. Like it's so cool they're treating us like this. Yeah. And then like 45 minutes later, I had this like, wait, like none of these people know.
An epiphany, right?
Like we didn't tell them, we didn't email them. This isn't Make-A-Wish or anything. Like this is just what they do. There's thousands of people. They didn't know what was going on. Yeah. Which meant that they were trained and taught how to make me feel some sort of way. Yeah. In the midst of like our family's like big time kind of crisis and this big moment in our family's life. Yeah. They were taught how to make me feel that way. Wow. Like there was intention behind that. And that kind of clicked to me. And I feel like the infusion of hospitality that I was being taught my whole life collided with my work at the principal's office in that very moment. Yeah. And so then I said, how do these people know how to treat me like this because I can do that at the principal's office at the cocktail bar.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I jumped headfirst, cannonball, skinny dipping into the pool. And I tried to learn everything I could about it. And so from that point on, I just learned everything I could about guest experience and hospitality. I snuck into Disney Institute classes. I read every book. I did everything that I could.
Yeah.
And now here we are a bunch of years later, and I'm the director of guest experience here at Loyal Coffee, a coffee company I co-founded with 5 of my friends.
Yep.
And then I also do hospitality, coaching, and consulting as well.
Yep.
And that obsession and passion has just snowballed, and it's been a blast.
Gosh, what a story.
There it is.
That's a great story. It's interesting to hear how you go from this place of pain and terror, difficult time, to a moment at a place
Totally.
that changes the course of your entire life.
Entirely.
It's amazing. That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that story.
You're welcome.
Can you give me just a big picture, theoretical, like what is customer or guest experience to you? Like when I say customer experience, what does that mean? Like in a couple of sentences or
I think for one, it's a matter of being intentional. So it's saying, okay, we're not going to leave the experience to chance.
Yeah.
Like a lot of places, they get passionate about a product or they get passionate about a place, and then they put it out for the world. But the way that the world actually interacts with that thing, there's no intentionality behind it. Yeah. So I think one of the first things is saying, okay, how are we being intentional when it comes to how people interact with us or our products? We can leave it to chance, or we can be intentional about how that experience goes. People are going to interact with us one way or the other. Like that, you don't have a choice about.
Yeah.
But you have a choice if you're going to try to control it or not. And for me, I want to say, you know what? Like, I want to control it. I want to make it as good as possible, which means a lot more work, a lot more systems and procedures, a lot more effort and time and money. But I want to be intentional to control the experience as much as I can.
Yeah.
And really, to me, the heart behind that is I love the people that I get to serve. And why would I leave that experience to chance? Yeah. I don't want to just roll the dice if they're going to have a good experience at Loyal. I want to be sure of it. And so to me, guest experience really means how are you intentional to ensure that the experience they have is good? And more importantly, are you putting systems, procedures, and policies in place that allow you to execute that on a consistent basis? Yeah. Now, the heart and the spirit behind that can be really different. For some places, I think that can mean we want a lot of efficiency, and it just needs to be really, really fast. I think for other places, hospitality can be the king. Like that's how I feel here. The guest experience is really infused with hospitality. Yeah. So I think it could look very different, but the point is a guest experience is something we're saying we're going to take control of it. We're going to try to hone it and be intentional to let it happen on our terms, not the terms of the universe.
Yes. Awesome. That's so good. On that, so piggyback off that.
Sure.
When a guest walks in or a customer walks in from literally the patio out there, into the door, what do you want them to feel? What do you want them to smell? What do you want them to experience? Like all their senses. Like what's the ideal experience for somebody walking into a Loyal Coffee?
I think one of the best ways to think about a guest experience, whether you're in tech, whether you're in hospitality, anything, is you want to think about it like a snowball rolling down a hill. Okay, so they can either be in the right snowball or the wrong snowball. Okay, either way, that snowball in a guest experience is going to roll, and it's going to get more snow, and that snowball is going to get bigger, and it's going to build momentum, and it's going to keep going in that direction. Right? So, when something good happens, the probability that a guest is going to look for and experience something good again is high. So when you can start their experience on a positive note, I think the probability that they're going to find another good thing goes up.
Interesting.
And I think the same thing works on like the wrong snowball, right?
A yellow snowball.
Like a yellow snowball, right? So if a guest comes in and their very first experience isn't good, if you don't set them to the right snowball, the momentum is going to start building down the wrong mountain. Yeah. Right? And so that's why I think, like, when you see, like, just imagine, like, you go up and the guest who's like really angry and really frustrated, the probability is they're not that mad, I think, actually, about the problem they're screaming about. They probably had 2 or 3 or 4 frustrating things that had happened prior.
Yes.
And the people who really have a good experience have also had momentum built. Really what I'm trying to say is it's all about momentum.
Yeah.
And so at Loyal, when we consider the guest experience, what we want to say is, how do we build momentum? The mistake most people make is that they focus so much on just one moment in their guest experience. And oftentimes it's their product, the interaction with the product, the coffee, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But what they don't think about is that the product and the guest experience concerning the product is surrounded by hundreds and thousands of experiences before and after.
Yes.
We obsess over the product, we forget about everything else. Mm-hmm. If we're really thinking about momentum and really interacting with the product is only something that happens as the snowball is rolling down the hill. That's only one moment in the grand scheme of things. Mm-hmm. And so for me, what I really want to consider when somebody walks into Loyal is, how do I put them on the right mountain? How do I get that snowball rolling in the momentum in the right direction? Yep. So what I don't want is for Loyal Coffee to only be about coffee. Mm-hmm. I want that to be part of the entire experience. So to me, what they experience when they first walk in is just as important as the quality of the coffee. And you mentioned senses. Really, I want to take consideration of all of those. Yeah. The best experiences are ones where all 5 senses are accounted for. The best experiences, the most memorable ones we have, all 5 senses are probably stimulated. Yeah. That's why riding a motorcycle is so cool. That's why sex is awesome. Mm-hmm. That's why like the things that we love the most, all 5 senses are engaged. Yeah. So whatever context you're in, you want to think about all those. So when somebody walks into Loyal, to actually answer your question, if I'm trying to build momentum, if I'm trying to put people in the right direction, I want to consider, what do they see? I want to make sure it's easy for them to go in the right direction. So one thing you'll notice at Loyal is when somebody walks in the door, the register is right there at them. And we actually control what door you walk into. All the other doors are locked. Mm-hmm. We want you to walk in only one door. That's easy. There's no friction there. Yep. When there's friction points, momentum is hard to build, right?
Builds fires.
And so if you know where to go, then there's no friction. It's easy for that snowball to roll. Yeah. So we want to walk in and know right where to go. That's why there's a pathway. That's why we put stripes in the floor. Mm-hmm. That's why, the door is right there. I want it to be easy. Mm-hmm. And then I've asked guests a lot, what's the first thing you notice? I let our guests curate our guest experience more than anything, and that's something we should talk about a little bit. But when Loyal number 1 opened, every guest that came in, I said, what was the first thing you noticed? Mm-hmm. And they said, I noticed how clean it was. So what I say is, okay, so then I sat there in the entranceway, and I looked at everything they could see in that entranceway, and I said, this is what needs to be the most clean. That's setting them off on the right direction. Now, if it's not clean, is that going to ruin the whole experience? No. But it's going to be a little bit harder to build momentum in the right direction. Yeah. And so for me, the first experience is so important because it does begin the momentum in one direction or the other. So we need to be really intentional with the very first experience because that will really dictate how the momentum is going. Momentum's hard to change, and so you really want to start it off in the right direction. I'd like to suggest our guest experience starts probably on Instagram or a Google, when people Google search us. Is the hours correct? Is the address right? Those kinds of things is really where the guest experience starts for us. Interesting. And that's kind of what I consider. So really, I think the momentum starts, is it easy to find us? Mm-hmm. Do we know they're open? And does the data online, like what do they serve? Does it match? Is it accurate and honest? Yeah. Wow, that's good stuff. And you already answered, so my next question.
Hey guys, Zach here from Fire and Hammer Media with Alec. We just wanted to say thanks for watching this segment of the interview. You can find a link to our YouTube channel, Fire and Hammer Media, to watch the whole thing in its entirety. You can also follow Fire and Hammer Media on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. So make sure to jump over there to stay up to date with all the latest content coming out.
Absolutely. And please comment below. Tell us what you thought about the content in this video. Would love to hear from you, as well as give us ideas on who we should interview next. We love talking to customer success experts all over the place. So go ahead and throw their name in the chat, and I will do my very best to reach out to them and get them on one of these videos for you, okay? So thanks again so much for watching our video. We're so excited to connect with you in the future.